Tuesday, February 7th, 2017. I'm your host, Sarah Mantle. We have a great show in store for you today. Up first, we will chat with Chief of Police Paul McDonald. We'll learn about an opportunity for budding musicians at the Centerville Library with singer-songwriter Kim Moberg. And we'll chat with DPW Director Dan Santos on this episode of Barnstable Today. Now let's take a look at today's top headlines. Joshua's Pond in Osterville may soon be getting an upgrade. DPW staff will present plans for the improvements to the Conservation Commission today. The improvements include a new parking lot, better pedestrian access, improved stormwater measures, and a new access road. The Conservation Commission meets tonight at 6:30 in the Town Hall hearing room. The Barnstable School Committee will get a first look at the FY18 school budget this Thursday night. Deputy Finance Director Gareth Markwell will present the proposed budget, along with Superintendent of Schools Meg Mayo Brown. Also on the agenda is further discussion of ending class rank at Barnstable High School. The school committee will meet this Thursday night, February 9th at 7 in the Town Hall hearing room. Barnstable Public Schools hires a new busing company. The school committee awarded 5 Star Transportation Incorporated a contract for regular and extracurricular transportation services that will begin July 1st. School district officials believe 5 Star's commitment to student safety, a proven track record in the transportation industry, and a strong business plan to transition into Barnstable will assist in the district's goal of providing the best educational opportunities to Barnstable's youngest residents. Well, it's time to fill out the town's annual census forms. Forms were mailed this week. When you receive your census form, you can make any changes necessary and send it back. You can also drop it off in the town clerk's office. Even if you have no changes to make, you still need to sign that form and send it back. This will make voting easier this year and keep you up to date in the voter registration system. The census form must be completed by all residents residing in the town of Barnstable. Well, up next, we're going to chat with Police Chief Paul McDonald. A big opening day for a shelter here in Hyannis. To learn more about that, we have on the phone with us right now Chief of Police Paul McDonald. Were you at the ceremony celebrating the opening of this shelter yesterday?
I did. I did get invited to a dedication ceremony yesterday with the Bishop from Fall River, Bishop Edgar da Kahuna. He did come in yesterday at 1 o'clock. It was a great meeting, and they were there to try to showcase the new shelter. I mean, as we all know, Catholic Social Services took the shelter over as of November 1st from the Housing Assistance Corporation, which has run the shelter in that particular location for over 30 years. The Catholic Social Services there, they took over November 1st. They've been there for three months already, and they made some significant improvements already.
What are the changes, Chief, that they have implemented, and why are they making those specific changes?
A couple of changes. A lot of changes are being made at the request of the community itself, downtown Hyannis, the BID, the Greater Hyannis Civic Association, the town, the police department. You know, we've been meeting and discussing the shelter for a number of years right now, and they want to be good neighbors, and they're certainly heading in the right direction. You know, a couple of just minor improvements they've made. Just as you drive down Winter Street, the shelter, for those who do not know, is located at 77 Winter Street, Hyannis. One small improvement they made that made a significant difference is they put up a high-quality fence in front of it. Just minor outside changes to the shelter just really improves it. You know, that curbside appeal, it no longer looks like the shelter. It doesn't look like a derelict building anymore. They really made some significant improvements. And then yesterday they gave us a tour of the facility after lunch, and they made some significant improvements inside. New bedding, new shower stalls, new meeting rooms. The shelter is now open 24 hours a day. You know, in the old days, you would go in there between 4 and 6 o'clock in the evening. You'd stay overnight. You'd have dinner and perhaps take a shower. and then the shelter would close at 7 o'clock in the morning. Everybody would have to leave the shelter, and then they'd wander Main Street or whatever. This shelter now stays open 24 hours a day. So if you do want to stay at the shelter, you can stay at the shelter. Services now provided at the shelter. If you want to meet with a counselor, if you want to meet with some workforce advisory group, whatever you need, you can now do it at the shelter. And those few changes, they made such a difference in downtown Hyannis. We would still like to see the shelter move. I don't think the appropriate place for us is 1 block off of Main Street, but they're certainly headed in the right direction. And for the police department and for someone like myself who've been dealing with this for over 30 years, I think it's a significant improvement.
Really important too. I think also, didn't the shelter become a dry shelter and make sure that individuals who stay there are not using alcohol or other substances? When
the shelter first opened, it was characterized as a wet shelter. Then approximately a year and a half ago, we'd convinced HAC to change to a dry shelter, which they did. And again, they were trying to be good neighbors also. Catholic Social Services had taken it over, and now the states kind of mandate that you can't turn people away just because they're under the influence of alcohol or some other substance. So no, it is no longer a dry shelter, but I won't say it's a wet shelter either. I mean, they take every individual in there on a case by case. If someone comes in there and they're obviously under the influence of alcohol or drugs, they're impaired, they're going to be disruptive, they're going to cause a problem, they're going to start a fight. They're not going to allow them in. They will call us, and then we will deal with them. But if you do come in there, and if they have had a couple of drinks, but they're not causing a problem, they're all right, they're going to go in there, they're going to have dinner, they're going to take a shower, and then they're going to go to bed, go to sleep for the night. Before they release it in the morning, a counselor will come in and talk to them and say, hey, listen, you came in yesterday, you're obviously under the influence of alcohol. Do you have a problem with alcohol? Do you have a problem with drugs? And if you do, let's get you the help you need. So I think they're all heading in the right direction. They're doing the right thing, because a lot of people who are homeless, they do have addiction issues, whether it be alcohol or drugs.
Well, and I was thinking, as you were describing the situation, Jimmy, I was thinking, maybe best that it isn't completely dry, because then they are being monitored, and they can, individuals that are working at the shelter can reach out to authorities if there is a problem. So, it's a tough balance, I think, to strike, but so great that they're making some of these changes just to help with the inside and outside and the way the shelter is run.
Right, and what you said is key, a tough balance to maintain. If somebody's homeless and under the influence and it's 20, 25 degrees, 30 degrees outside, you just can't turn them away because they're under the influence of alcohol. So they're trying to meet them halfway. As long as you're not disruptive, as long as you're not causing a problem, then they will get you the help the following day that you need. So we have seen a definite improvement. In talking to the staff yesterday, in the 3 months that they've been open, they said they've dealt with 163 separate and distinct individuals over those 3 months. So, and that's right in line with the numbers that we had in HAC. The police department on a 12-month basis, we usually deal with right around 400 individuals, separate and distinct individuals. And so to HAC, I think HAC's number was 407. They've been in business now; they're up to 163. So that's a good number. So I think in the course of any 12-month period, there's probably about 400, a little over 400 individuals that are homeless in downtown Hyannis. So there definitely is a need for a shelter, but the shelter is now being run on a truly professional basis, which was most impressive.
Yeah, and really important too, I think, when you were talking about some of the services that they could actually access at the shelter. I mean, really good to help them moving forward, and hopefully the goal is to get them out of that shelter and into some housing.
Well, that is the goal, and I forget what the time, but they do not let you stay there for an extended period of time. Once you come in, I can't remember if it's 3 months or 6 months, but it's either 3 or 6 months. After that, you have to move on. They will work with you for the 3 months or 6 month period. They will try to find you a job. They will try to get you services they need. But after that, you have to move on. Which is perfect. In the old days, we had one individual who was living in the shelter for almost 10 years. No progress is being made there.
Right, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning, telling us all about the updated shelter and their goals for the future. We really appreciate it.
Good talking to you, Sarah.
You as well. Talk to you again next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. My guest today, of course, Chief of Police Paul McDonald. Up next, singer-songwriter Kim Moberg is reaching out to budding musicians with an open mic night at the Centerville Library. We're going to learn more about that during our interview. So Kim, love the concept of an open mic night at a library. I think it's such a great concept. Do you think holding an open mic night at a library will allow more people to feel comfortable and come out?
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that, and that's part of the reason that we did it where we did it, that it would encourage all ages and all genres and all levels to come out and try and get their music heard or their art.
You know, let's go back a little bit and talk about your beginnings in music. You're a singer, you're a songwriter, you're out there performing all over the Cape, probably beyond the Cape as well. But how did you get your start? When did you start really playing out?
Well, I had stage fright for a very, very, very long time, and it was through open mics that I found my confidence. And I started doing it professionally about 2.5 years ago. Prior to that, though, my mother was a classical pianist, and she gave lessons to neighborhood kids, guitar lessons, when I was 14. And I had to type up the lyric sheets to earn my lessons. And that's when I started playing guitar. Put it aside for a while, went back and forth with it, and then put it aside for a long while I had a family and raised my kids, and then decided about 8 years ago to pick it up again. But stage fright kept me at home and in the basement until the open mics. So.
And you're not alone in that, I'm sure. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who are great musicians, very talented individuals who just don't want to go out there and do that. Is that why you started this open mic series at the Centerville Public Library?
That's exactly why we started this series, because there are so many people out there who have talent and who have the love and have the desire, but they're a little bit shy, or they don't get the opportunity really to get behind a mic. And this gives them the space, and it gives them the support that they need to move forward.
And we're all our worst critics, right?
Absolutely.
We're all our own worst critic. And I think maybe having a little bit of positive feedback, because if you aren't willing to play out in front of other people, you're not going to get positive feedback to give you the confidence you need. So really important, I think, for individuals. At Love Watching, you get an array of performers. I mean, every style is welcome.
We've had students from the middle school. We've had classical artists. My friend Misao Koyama, who is a jazz pianist and a piano teacher, offers to play for free at the open mic. All you have to do is come and bring your sheet music, and she'll accompany you. Plus, she's played there before. We have clarinet to guitar to poets to spoken word, you name it, and they've been there.
Wow, that is so cool. There's no charge to join in and participate in the open night mic, which is another great resource for our community, because a lot of people don't have, they wouldn't necessarily take that step if they had to pay for it.
Exactly.
But you do something to help the community while hosting the open mic night. You actually asked for donations to a local food pantry.
Yes, I do. I'm a strong believer in giving back to our community. We're all part of the same great big circle. And so the only thing that I ask for at the open mic is a donation for the local food pantry.
And you're actually, that food pantry is Family Pantry of Cape Cod.
Thank you.
They do such great work
do.
all over Cape Cod. So important to support that. Have you heard any feedback from participants who've taken part in the open mic night?
I've heard such positive feedback, but one story I will share. The gentleman walked in. He hadn't played music, evidently, I learned later, for quite some time. He saw, when he went into the library, he saw the poster that was on the wall, decided last minute to come in because his wife was out of town. And he told me the story when he came back the next month. And he said, I was in a very not good place that day, and I thought, what the heck, I'll just go in and see what it's about. And he said the environment was so welcoming and so comfortable that I played music that I hadn't played for years, and I'm back again. And the people that were here that day made a difference in my life.
You know, isn't that neat too? Because sometimes we don't think about art as therapy, but it really can be. It can make you involved in your community in a way that you hadn't been before, or it can just reignite that passion inside you that helps us to make the most of life.
Absolutely. Well, I think, we all want two things. We all want to be accepted and respected. And things like this open mic or other open mics that you'll find all across the Cape offer that opportunity.
And you've had a variety, not only different styles of music, but you've also had a variety of age ranges. So you've had an 8-year-old perform and an 82-year-old perform. That's quite a range.
At the very first open mic, we had a very good crowd turnout, and that was the range that one night. 8 years old to a woman who read her poetry. She was in her early 80s. It was fantastic.
It's beautiful. It must be very heartwarming to see. Do you get to see, too, people participate and come back and sort of watch them grow and even see their confidence flourish?
That's part of the fun of it for me, is to be able to see someone will come in and, they've learned a cover song, but then all of a sudden they think, geez, you know, maybe I'm going to try my hand at writing a song. And they'll come in and they'll have a partially finished or a three-quarter finished song, and they'll get feedback and they'll get encouragement, and that's growth.
Yeah, so exciting. And I know the Centerville Library has been such a great partner for you. You guys teamed up to help do this. And it's become a monthly event at the Centerville Library. So this happens the second Tuesday of every month.
Correct.
What time would we show up? So I think registration begins at 5:30?
Yes, the sign-up sheet is set up at 5:30. The open mic runs from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Depending on how busy it is, but you can count on 2 songs anyway, sometimes more, depending on the crowd.
Wonderful. And if you don't have 2 songs, is it okay to just come with one?
Of course, yes, it is.
Wonderful. So no rules at the coffee house.
No rules, nope.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kim, for stopping by and telling us all about the coffee house. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And super big thanks to the Centerville Library and the folks there who have given us that amazing space downstairs to be able to host something so wonderful.
I'll have to come check it out.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much. We really appreciate it. Of course, our guest today, Kim Moberg, she is a singer, songwriter, hosting the Craigville Coffee House every month at the Centerville Library. The Wastewater Resources Advisory Committee is working to develop an implementation plan for the 208 Water Quality Plan. To talk more about that and the committee's work, we have with us DPW Director Dan Santos. Dan, the committee has been meeting how long now?
We've been meeting since February last year, so
about a year.
Yeah.
And a lot of the information I know in sort of the beginning meetings were just discussions about what has been done other places, really getting the committee up to speed on issues. What is the work like nowadays?
Well, it's true as you say, and you know, whenever you start a new committee, you want to bring people up to speed and go through everything that's been done, and so you can have good interactions and everyone's starting at a good place. So we certainly did that. And one of the biggest things we wanted to do over the last year was identify areas where we needed more information. We call them data gaps, because when we go through the analysis, we want to make sure you have all the information that you need to make the decisions you need to make. So we spent time looking at all the information that's been put together in the past about failed septic systems and where nitrogen is causing a problem in our estuaries, where we have high groundwater, looking at the build-out of the town. In other words, you know, how much growth can the current zoning accommodate? And in some places, you know, they put quite a bit more. And that's from a wastewater perspective. So how much more wastewater will be generated in a certain area if all the lots are sold and built out to what they could be? So that's an important analysis. Looking at where there's variances to Title V, where there's drinking water wells. There's all of these pieces of information that you put together and look at, and it will help you identify areas where you really need to provide wastewater solutions. And the way we've done that is our assistant town engineer, Amanda Ruggiero, has built a tool or a model working with our Geographic Information System office here in town, and they have created layers of information. So there's consider a layer a map. So we have a map of high groundwater and a map of failed systems and a map where nitrogen's an issue. And so you overlay these one on the other, and you do it electronically with a computer. And what comes through is these areas that have issues, that all these problems are at once in one place. So you say, okay, we got to put a sewer there because there's no other solution.
Right, because it's too big of an issue
and there's
to be
so
dealt
many
with.
problems, that's got to be sewered. And other parts of town may not be a problem at all, and that would be completely appropriate for continuing with Title V systems. And then there may be other places where you don't need a sewer, but you do need to address the nitrogen, so we can look at alternative and innovative septic systems which remove nitrogen. So this is the analysis that's going on right now. We had our first meeting looking at this tool with the computer just this week, and we had DEP in, and we had the chairman of the RAC and my staff to start utilizing this tool. So over the next couple of months, we'll actually be building our wastewater plan, working with the RAC, and then this summer, it's our hope that we'll be presenting that to the town council and then going out for public input and start socializing what we think is the best plan moving forward. So
wow, it's really come a long way then, the work that's being done with the committee. Very interesting to see that, to visualize all of these areas, overlaid. What a unique tool that is. To be able to see it really would make it a lot clearer than than having it on all different maps, not being able to see how the one correlates to the other. So really important information. I think
exactly.
You're using.
It's this graphic way of looking at data. And that's the beauty of GIS systems, which have been around, about 20 years pretty heavily, but they keep getting more advanced, and it's just amazing how efficient. So we're able to do this work in-house with my staff rather than hiring a consultant, which is what we've always had to do in the past. So we're saving
a lot of money,
saving the town a lot of money, and we're getting a good product. So
you were talking a little bit about the timeline, how you hope to present a plan to town council and have some public hearings on that and get public feedback. Is there a timeline as far as the EPA goes, or the Massachusetts emergency, Environmental Protection Agency? Is there a timeline that we have to follow for that we need to have this stuff done by?
Well, they haven't really put one out. The first timeline or due date was this past June, where we had to have watershed reports done. So we have a number of watersheds in town, and we had to create basically a plan. What would it look like if we sewered the whole town, and what would it look like if we just used alternative in Title V systems? So that's called the bookend. So we kind of bracketed the solution. In reality, the ultimate solution is going to be somewhere in the middle.
Right.
And they were basically saying that's going to be probably a 5-year requirement, but we'll be, well ahead of that.
Wonderful. It's implementing the plan, I think, is so important, just for many reasons. One, we really do need good, clean water for our residents. Also, it affects our tourism industry, so it's something we don't want to put off and let sit. We want to take care of the problem now, but it can be a very difficult problem. You talked about some alternatives to sewering. We know sewering is so expensive that it's really something that you want to avoid if you can. What are some other alternatives that the committee has discussed that may not cost as much as sewering?
Well, there's one technology is called a permeable reactive barrier, and in that case, this is the way to treat nitrogen that's been put into the ground from septic systems. And so you actually dig a trench and intercept the groundwater, and inside this trench you put a material that basically reduces the nitrogen. So the water goes through this trench like it's going through a treatment wall, and then comes out the other side with less nitrogen in it. So
almost
if
like
you
a
could
filter.
if you could put these up gradient of an impacted water body, then you could help the situation there. We've talked about waterless toilets that we're installing at Craigville Beach Bathhouse as we speak. Doing urine diversion, because there's a lot of urea, ammonia. This all creates nitrogen, and if you can take that out of the waste stream, then that's an opportunity. Creating wetlands that address nitrogen. So there's a lot of these using shellfish. These are all means of reducing the nitrogen, and that's what the whole 208 is about: is water quality. But the other aspect of wastewater is the public health, of course,
right.
And removing the waste, from exposure to humans, and that's why we have other portions of the plan. We're not just looking at nitrogen loading.
Yeah, so important. Well, thank you, Dan, for the update. Really appreciate it. Committee sounds like it's hard at work, and of course, we want to continue to discuss this as plans are developed. So thank you very much. We appreciate your insight there.
Nice to speak with you.
You as well. Talk to you again next week.
Okay, great.
Bye-bye. Our guest today, of course, DPW Director Dan Santos. Now let's find out what's happening around town in today's community calendar. Well, save the date. Sturgis Library is celebrating its 150th anniversary with an open house and birthday party. The library will provide wine, soft drinks, appetizers, and birthday cake. Staff will also be debuting the Sturgis Community Family Tree and will have exhibits of documents and photographs related to the history of the library. The event will be held Sunday, February 25th from 4 to 6. It is free to attend and open to the public. Well, spring is just around the corner, and that means so is baseball season. It's time to sign up your players for Barnstable Little League. Parents can easily sign up online by visiting barnstablelittleleague.com. Walk-in registration will be held March 4th from 10 a.m. to noon at the Hyannis Elks Lodge on Burses Way. Well, here's a look at this week's Board, Committee, and Commission meeting schedule. Well, thanks for tuning in today. We'll be back tomorrow with another great show for you. Tomorrow, we'll chat with Cape Cod Chamber CEO Wendy Northcross. We'll chat with Highway Supervisor Michael Perry, and we'll find out more about the annual census with Town Clerk Ann Quirk. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mantle.